I didn't know my life was about to split cleanly in two when he said it. God, Julia, you are exhausting. I can do whatever I want. I don't need your permission. Those were the exact words my boyfriend Matt threw at me 3 nights ago, casually, almost lazily, when I asked why a couple's retreat in Sedona had posted a photo of him standing as someone else's partner. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't throw a glass or demand his phone. I just said, okay, and I walked away. At the time, Matt thought he had won. He thought my silence meant surrender, that I was finally backing down, finally being less intense, finally learning to relax. He had no idea that something inside me had gone terrifyingly still. What happened next changed everything about how I see love, money, loyalty, and the very thin line between supporting someone and quietly funding your own replacement. My name is Julia. I'm 31 years old. I work as a senior cloud security engineer for a fintech startup in Scottsdale. My life, until recently, was built on structure and predictability. I believe in calm conversations, clear agreements, and showing up consistently. I thought those values made me a good partner. Matt is 29. Charismatic, attractive, a self-described wellness entrepreneur with a growing social media following. He talks about masculine presence, abundance, alignment. When we met 3 years ago, I found that confidence intoxicating. He moved into my condo 2 years ago. The lease is in my name. I pay the rent, utilities, internet, insurance, almost everything. He contributes when he can. I told myself that love wasn't transactional. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have imagined, was that for 6 months while I was paying the bills and planning a future, Matt was building a completely different life with another woman. Weekend getaways, romantic dinners, vision boards that didn't include me. All of it paid for with money he accused me of being controlling about. The photo from Sedona wasn't the beginning. It was the moment the mask slipped. And once it did, I stopped trying to save the relationship and started protecting myself. Because when someone tells you they can do whatever they want, they're right. But so can you. Before everything collapsed, my life was quiet in a way I took pride in. I was 31, stable, employed in a field where precision mattered and mistakes had consequences. As a senior cloud security engineer, my days revolved around threat models, audits, and long-term risk mitigation. I liked systems that made sense. I liked knowing where I stood. I liked coming home to a space that felt safe. That was the version of my life before Matt. I met him 3 years ago at a small wellness networking event I almost didn't attend. A coworker had dragged me along, promising it would be good for balance. Matt was speaking on a panel about masculine presence and embodied leadership. He was confident, warm, and articulate in a way that made people lean in when he spoke. When our eyes met across the room, he smiled like we already shared a secret. He asked for my number afterward, not in a rushed way, not needy, calm, assured. That was the first thing I liked about him. Our relationship unfolded easily at first. Dates that turned into long conversations, shared playlists, weekend hikes. He talked about building a wellness brand that helped people reconnect with themselves. I talked about my work, my need for structure, my tendency to overthink. He said I grounded him. I said he softened me. 6 months in, he was staying over more nights than not. A year later, he moved into my condo. It made sense. We were already living together in every way that mattered. The lease was in my name. I'd bought the place before we met. I covered the mortgage, utilities, internet, parking, insurance. Matt contributed about $200 a month. When I gently brought it up once, he frowned and said money conversations made him feel controlled. So I dropped it. I told myself love meant generosity, that I earned more, that things would balance out when his business took off. And to be fair, his online presence was growing. About 25,000 followers. He posted daily about discipline, alignment, and creating abundance without scarcity. People loved him. Women commented heart emojis. Men asked for mentorship. I ignored the small discomfort that came with that attention. Looking back, there were signs, subtle ones. He became more critical of me, little comments disguised as jokes. "You're very logical, Julia. Not everything needs a spreadsheet." Or, "You worry too much. You should trust the universe more." Over time, those comments chipped away at me. 6 months before everything blew up, Matt started pulling away emotionally. He snapped over small things, took longer to respond to texts, started dressing differently, new clothes that didn't fit the gym or our usual routines. He talked constantly about a photographer named Elena Torres, a wellness content creator who shot brand visuals for influencers. "She's helping me elevate," he said casually. "You'd like her." I didn't realize then that he was telling the truth, just not in the way I understood. When he told me he was attending a creator wellness intensive in Sedona, I encouraged him, helped him pack, kissed him goodbye like I always did. I believed in supporting the person I loved. I believed in us. That belief, steady, unexamined, and deeply sincere, was what made what came next hurt in a way I still struggle to put into words. Because betrayal doesn't just destroy trust, it rewrites the past. Unease doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't announce itself with alarms or certainty. It settles in quietly, like a draft you keep telling yourself is nothing, just your imagination, just stress, just overthinking. That was how it began with Matt. Over the next few months, the atmosphere in our home shifted in ways I couldn't fully articulate at first. Conversations felt shorter, laughter felt forced. He'd scroll through his phone during dinner, smiling at messages he wouldn't share, then look up and ask me why I was being so serious lately. I told myself I was projecting. He started traveling more. Tucson, Flagstaff, Prescott, always for workshops, shoots, collaborations. He'd come home energized but distant, like someone returning from a life I wasn't part of. Sometimes he'd forget details he'd told me before. Sometimes his stories didn't quite line up. When I asked questions, gently, he sighed. "Why do you always need explanations?" "You have to trust me, Julia. Not everything is a threat." Each time I backed down. Around that time, his family's presence in our relationship increased. His sister would casually mention how lucky Matt was to have someone so supportive. His mother once joked that I was his financial guardian angel. Everyone laughed. I laughed too. But something about it stayed with me. The money conversations became impossible. When I noticed higher charges on our joint credit card, restaurants I didn't recognize, boutique hotels, I asked about them. He told me it was part of brand building. That investment was necessary before abundance arrived. If I pressed, his tone hardened. "I thought you believed in me. Do you want me to fail?" Money shouldn't come between us. So again, I let it go. Then there was Elena. At first, she was just a name, then a presence, then a shadow that followed every conversation. He mentioned her constantly, her insight, her creativity, how deeply she understood his vision. He compared me to her without meaning to, or maybe without caring. "You two would get along," he said once. "She's very emotionally intuitive." That stung more than I expected. The night before his Sedona trip, I was scrolling LinkedIn when I saw it. A post from Moonrest Retreat, Sedona. The caption read, "Honored to host Elena Torres and her partner for our couples reconnection weekend." The photo stopped my breath. Elena was standing there in white linen, my linen, wearing the exact outfit Matt had packed that morning. Her hand rested on his arm like it belonged there. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding, trying to rationalize what I was seeing. When Matt came home that evening, I asked him calmly. He laughed, too quickly. "It's a hybrid event," he said. "They needed a +1 for branding. You're being paranoid." I asked about the $100 to $800 charge on our joint card. That's when he went quiet. "Elena covered most of it," he said finally. And then, with a sharp exhale, came the sentence that changed everything. "God, Julia, you are exhausting. I can do whatever I want. I don't need your permission." In that moment, something inside me stopped fighting. Because for the first time, I understood. He wasn't misunderstanding me. He was replacing me. When Matt said those words, I felt it in my body before my mind caught up. It wasn't rage. It wasn't panic. It was a strange, hollow clarity, like the moment after a bone breaks, when the pain hasn't arrived yet, but you know with terrifying certainty that something is permanently wrong. "Okay," I said. "That was it?" No argument, no tears, no raised voice. Matt blinked, clearly thrown off by my lack of reaction. He'd been bracing for a fight, for me to plead or accuse or defend myself against a charge I didn't deserve. When none of that came, his irritation faltered. He shrugged and went back to packing, humming along to some meditation playlist, completely at ease, as if he hadn't just detonated our relationship with a single sentence. I went into the kitchen and started making dinner. Pasta. Something simple. My hands moved automatically. Boiling water, chopping garlic, while my mind replayed the image from Sedona again and again. Elena's hand on his arm, the caption, the charge on our card. For the first time in months, my chest felt calm. That should have scared me. Later that night, after Matt fell asleep, I sat on the couch in the dark with my laptop open. I logged into our joint account, not with suspicion, but with purpose. 6 months of transactions. Venmo payments to Elena Torres. Hotel bookings in Tucson, Flagstaff, Prescott. Boutique wineries. Upscale restaurants. On days he'd told me he was working for free, investing in exposure. Each line item landed like a quiet confession. I wasn't imagining things. I had been paying for his secret life. My hands shook as I closed the laptop, then froze. Matt's iPad was on the coffee table, unlocked. I sat there staring at it for a full minute, my pulse loud in my ears. I knew that once I opened it, there would be no going back, no pretending, no salvaging illusions. But I also knew I couldn't unknow what I already suspected. So I opened his messages. 6 months of texts between him and Elena. Not flirtation, intimacy, inside jokes, voice memos of them laughing together, photos I'd never seen, screenshots of apartment listings in Sedona labeled Our Future Place. One message from 3 weeks earlier made my stomach turn. She doesn't get it. She's so controlling about money, but her card makes everything easier. Once I'm more established, I won't need to rely on it anymore. I sat there in silence, the room spinning slightly. I had funded every dinner, every weekend escape, every candle and crystal and linen outfit, while he told another woman I was the problem. I didn't wake him up. I didn't scream or throw his iPad or demand explanations. Instead, I took screenshots. Every message, every photo, every receipt. I downloaded 6 months of account statements. I pulled up the lease. My name only. I checked our insurance. Me as the policyholder, him listed as a dependent. Then I did what I do best. I made a plan. Friday morning, Matt left for Sedona. He kissed my cheek and told me I really needed to learn how to relax. I smiled and told him I was working on it. I called my bank, scheduled the joint account to be frozen Saturday morning, filed paperwork to remove him from my insurance effective Monday, transferred his phone line to prepaid with a 3-day buffer. I scheduled a locksmith for Sunday. Then I started packing. Everything he'd purchased with money from our joint account went into boxes: clothes, shoes, skincare, decor. I made lists. I was careful, respectful. Everything that had belonged to him before he moved in went into a separate pile. Saturday afternoon, I changed the locks. The building security guard asked if everything was okay. I showed him the lease. I showed him the retreat photo. By Sunday evening, it was done. I left a note on top of the boxes. You said you can do whatever you want. So can I. Then I sat on my balcony and waited. Sunday night, just after 8, I heard the familiar beep of the access card at the door. Once. Twice. Then again, faster this time, sharper. Panic creeping into the rhythm. I stayed seated on the balcony, the city lights flickering below me, like nothing in the world had changed. My phone vibrated in my hand. Matt calling. I let it ring. A second call, then a third. Voicemail after voicemail stacking up, each one unanswered. Through the peephole, I watched him swipe the card again, his shoulders tensing, his movements no longer confident. When it finally sank in that he wasn't getting in, he started knocking, soft at first, then harder. After 10 minutes, the building security guard came up. I heard Matt's voice rise, sharp and indignant. There's been a mistake. I live here. The guard repeated calmly that access had been revoked and management had received formal notice. Only the leaseholder could authorize entry. Matt asked to use the guard's phone. I didn't answer. Around 9, the elevator dinged again. Rapid footsteps echoed down the hall. His sister Kelly appeared like a storm. She started shouting before she even reached the door. You're a coward, Julia. How could you lock him out like this? This is abusive. I heard neighbors' doors crack open. I hit record on my phone, not out of spite, but caution. Then I opened the door. Kelly stopped mid-sentence. She was expecting anger, defensiveness, maybe tears. Instead, she found me calm. I handed her a folder. Inside were printed screenshots. The Sedona retreat photo. 6 months of credit card statements with Elena's name highlighted, text messages laying out the timeline with brutal clarity. Your brother has been in a relationship with Elena Torres for at least 6 months, I said evenly. He used our joint account to fund it. Everything he owns is in those boxes. He can arrange pickup during building hours. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't explain further. Kelly flipped through the pages. I watched her expression change. Confusion, then recognition, then something close to disgust. She looked at Matt, then back at the papers, then at him again. She closed the folder carefully. Get in the car, she said quietly. Matt tried to protest. She cut him off. Get in the car, now. I closed the door and went back to the balcony. Monday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls. I didn't respond. I finalized the insurance removal, confirmed the account freeze. Then I watched, almost distantly, as Matt posted an Instagram story, a soft-focus mirror selfie with a caption about how some women can't handle strong men who know their worth. At first, the comments were supportive. Then, someone posted a screenshot of the Moonrest retreat caption. Wait, wasn't that a couple's weekend? The comments exploded. People started connecting dots. Photos Elena had posted and deleted resurfaced. Hand-holding, a kiss by Red Rocks. Within an hour, Matt deleted the story. Too late. Tuesday afternoon, I got a call from Rachel, who handled partnerships for Moonrest. She explained there had been irregularities in how Matt and Elena had represented themselves. Discounts intended for professional collaborators had been misused. They were handling it internally. Wednesday, Matt's mother called, furious. She accused me of humiliating her son. I sent her a spreadsheet. 2 years of expenses, who paid what? 85% covered by me. She didn't call back. By Thursday, the noise died down. Then I got a text from an unknown number. This is Elena, we need to talk. Another message followed. Matt's a mess. You're making this harder than it needs to be. I blocked the number. That Friday afternoon, I did something I hadn't done in months. I called my friend Aaron and asked if he wanted to go climbing. At the gym, I met Ben Carter, 32, runs an outdoor travel company. We climbed together for hours. Afterward, he suggested tacos and insisted on splitting the bill. When I offered to pay, he looked at me like I'd suggested something strange. Why would you pay? He said. We're just hanging out. It was the first time in a long time I felt normal. And that was when I realized my reaction wasn't about revenge. It was about relief. Relief didn't mean peace. Not yet. What followed wasn't a dramatic explosion, but a slow, relentless unspooling, like a thread being pulled until everything Matt had built around himself came apart in full view of the people he'd been so careful to impress. By Monday afternoon, the Instagram damage control had already failed. Matt tried to repost, something vague about healing journeys and masculine accountability. He never denied anything outright. He never apologized. He just spoke in the abstract, hoping ambiguity would save him. It didn't. People asked direct questions. Were you in a relationship while posting couples content with Elena? Why were retreat discounts meant for professionals used for personal trips? Why does abundance always seem to involve someone else's money? Screenshots circulated faster than he could delete them. Elena went silent first. Her account stopped updating. Her comments were turned off. Matt kept posting, doubling down on language about being misunderstood and vilified for growth. That only made it worse. Tuesday afternoon, Rachel from Moonrest called again. Her voice was professional, but there was an edge now. They had conducted a deeper audit. Matt had claimed he and Elena were developing a couples coaching program. That claim had earned them a 50% discount and promotional photography, resources meant for legitimate business partnerships. When Moonrest realized the program didn't exist and the weekend had been a romantic getaway, their patience evaporated. They weren't pursuing anything publicly, Rachel said, but their network would be informed. In the wellness world, that mattered. Wednesday evening, Matt's mother called again. This time, her voice wasn't angry. It was brittle. She asked if we could meet for coffee. I agreed, not out of obligation, but clarity. At Starbucks, she apologized before she even sat down. She told me Matt had been lying to the family for months, painting me as financially abusive, emotionally cold. After seeing the spreadsheet, and after talking to Kelly, she understood how wrong she'd been. Then she told me something that surprised me. Matt had asked to move back home. She'd said no. He's 29, she said quietly, and he needs to learn that actions have consequences. That was the first moment I felt the escalation tip, not toward chaos, but accountability. Meanwhile, my own life was shifting in small, steady ways. Ben and I started climbing together twice a week, then 3 times. Then we added weekend hikes. Nothing was labeled. Nothing was rushed. We split gas, packed our own lunches, bought our own coffee. No one made it into a test. One night after climbing, we grabbed Thai food. When the check came, Ben automatically calculated his half. He looked up and laughed. "You always look relieved when I do that," he said. "What's that about?" I didn't unload everything. I just told him the truth in simple terms, that I'd spent years paying for nearly everything while being accused of control whenever I asked for balance. He set his phone down. That sounds exhausting, he said. Money's just money. If we're both here, we both contribute. That sentence stayed with me. Back in Matt's world, the consequences kept stacking. 3 brand partnerships quietly disappeared by the end of the week. A supplement company, a yoga mat brand, an online course platform. One posted a statement about aligning with creators who embodied transparency and integrity. They didn't name him. They didn't have to. Elena tried to resurface with a long carousel post about how relationships are complex and growth isn't linear. The comments were brutal. People accused her of weaponizing therapy language to dodge responsibility. Then she deleted the post, and then she disappeared entirely. I learned what happened through Kelly, who emailed me a long apology. After I changed the locks, Kelly confronted Matt with the evidence. He admitted everything. 6 months. Full financial trail. All of it. According to Kelly, Elena blocked Matt 3 days later. One text. I need space. I can't handle this drama. Then she vanished. She moved to Colorado. Blocked him everywhere. Refused to take his calls. The woman he'd told himself was his soulmate left the moment things became inconvenient. Kelly said he was devastated. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not vindication. Just distance. That weekend, Ben asked if I wanted to go camping in Sedona. I hesitated for half a second. Then I realized that was exactly why I should go. We hiked, watched the sunrise from the rocks. On the drive back, he reached over and took my hand. No pressure, no declaration, just warmth. That night, over leftover pizza, he asked if I wanted to be official. Casually, kindly. I said yes. The escalation wasn't loud. It was thorough. And by the time Matt realized what he'd lost, there was nothing left to negotiate. People assume the darkest moment comes with screaming or tears or dramatic confrontations. Mine didn't. It came weeks later, on an ordinary Tuesday night, when the noise had finally faded and I was alone with the aftermath. Ben had gone home after dinner. The condo was quiet in a way it hadn't been in years. No humming meditation playlists, no half-burned candles, no tension disguised as spirituality. Just me. I stood in the living room and realized that everything Matt had brought into my life, his routines, his language, even the way I'd learned to second-guess myself, was gone. And in that emptiness, something unexpected surfaced. Grief. Not for him, for me. For the woman who had believed love meant absorbing discomfort without complaint. For the version of myself who'd mistaken patience for strength and silence for maturity. I sat on the floor with my back against the couch and let the weight of it press down. What if I had spoken up sooner? What if I'd trusted my instincts? What if I hadn't been so eager to be understanding? Those questions looped until they lost meaning. That night, my phone buzzed with a voicemail from an unknown number. I already knew who it was before I listened. Matt's voice sounded smaller than I remembered. He said he'd made terrible mistakes, that Elena had used him, that what we had, 3 years, had to count for something. He said we'd both hurt each other, that we could try again. I listened to the whole thing. Then I deleted it. Not because it didn't hurt, but because I finally understood what had truly broken us. It wasn't the cheating. It was the lying, the financial betrayal, the way he'd painted me as controlling while quietly relying on my money to fund his fantasy. The next day he tried again. A text this time, long, rambling, full of self-awareness that arrived only after consequences. He said Elena had blocked him, that he had nowhere to go, that he just needed to talk. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I didn't respond. The darkest part wasn't resisting him. It was resisting the urge to comfort someone who had hurt me, because that had been my role for so long. Around that time, Kelly reached out again. She asked if I would be willing to give Matt closure. She said he was falling apart. I thanked her for apologizing. Then I said no. Closure, I realized, is not something you extract from the person you betrayed. It's something you build when you stop avoiding responsibility. That night, I went for a walk alone. The air was cool, the streets familiar. I passed restaurants we'd gone to together, places where I'd paid the bill without thinking. For the first time, I didn't feel angry. I felt free and terrified. Because freedom meant there was no one left to blame, no role to play, no story to hide inside, just me and the choices ahead of me. At home, I opened my laptop and looked at old photos. Not of Matt, but of myself before him, hiking alone, smiling without restraint, comfortable in my own space. I closed the laptop and took a deep breath. The dark moment wasn't about losing him. It was about realizing how much of myself I'd given away without being asked, and knowing that if I ever wanted to feel whole again, I would have to reclaim it, slowly, deliberately, without apology.